What is the most powerful spiritual moment that you've ever had? Standing on the banks of Mother Ganga for the first time was definitely the first of the most powerful spiritual experiences. And then they just kept happening. They just kept happening in different circumstances, different times, different situations. And they're extraordinary. I always hesitate a little bit because on the one hand, the sharing of the stories is beautiful and it's inspiring and it's interesting and yet the dilemma for me on a personal level comes with, well, that's my story. And your story is going to be completely different. And the last thing that I would want is people to think, oh, well, it didn't happen to me exactly like that. And therefore, it's not right. It's not as good. It should have been like that. And so I'll share a couple stories, but it's really important to realize that these are my stories. And there's a great tradition in so many of the world's spiritual traditions of storytelling. So we know that there is a power in telling stories, which is why we share them. But it's also very important to realize this is just one way. It's like, yeah, today I had a bath in Ganga, and this is the way I went down. I walked down a step, then I skipped 2 steps. Then I turned around and I walked backwards down another 3 steps, and then I sat down on my rear and I slid down a couple of steps, and then stood up and walked down one. Then I spun around in circles down another couple of steps, and eventually I ended up in Ganga. All right, that's one way to get in. There's lots of other ways to get in. You could just walk down the steps. You could go the whole way on your rear end, bumping along the steps. There's probably an infinite number of ways one could get into Ganga. None of them being better. None of them being worse. All that matters is you get in Ganga. And I preface the stories with this because remember, these are stories of getting into Ganga. And and then I spun around, and then this happened, and then I walked backwards, and okay, great. But really what's important is that you get in Ganga. And so, and that's, I mean it metaphorically, of course. Ganga is that divine mother, that power of liberation that here on her banks we love and we worship. But it's the same thing when we talk about connecting to God through spiritual experiences. It's okay, so here's how mine looked. Metaphorically, it was a 1 step down, skipping 2, spinning around, walking backwards, whatever it may have been. But these are experiences and stories of connecting to that which is, connecting to the truth. And just as the truth is infinite, just as God is infinite, so there are infinite ways of experiencing that. So ask yourself, what are your stories? What are your spiritual moments? And stay open, because every moment could be the best spiritual moment you've ever had. All that you need to have a spiritual moment, the best spiritual moment, is you. Because enlightenment, let's not even just talk spiritual moments. Let's go all the way to the end. Enlightenment is you. It's a removal of the darkness of ignorance. It's not bringing light from somewhere else. It's not that your light is only 40 watts and enlightenment only happens when you get up to 100 watts, so you've got to go out and figure out how to find a 100 watt bulb. That's not it. Enlightenment is literally living in the light of who you are, of the truth. That's what it is. Living in that light of the truth of you. And so the darkness that keeps us from enlightenment is the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of false identification with the role, the titles, the body. The light of enlightenment is you. It's a capital Y, you. So every moment could be the moment of enlightenment if you are ready to drop the darkness. If you're ready to drop that ignorance. Because it's not a darkness of who you are on the inside, it's just a darkness of ignorance. Who you are on the inside, the truth of capital Y, you, is divine, is perfect, is full, whole, complete. We've got all the mantras, all the teachings telling us this in so many ways. So I'll give you a couple of stories, but as I give them, allow yourself to think, what's been my most spiritual moment? And how can maybe this moment become the most spiritual moment? And then how can my next moment be the most spiritual moment? And then the next moment. Because that's what life is. You've only got right now. So the stories by nature are stories of the past. And even if they were extraordinarily spiritual, they don't benefit me in the now. Unless I'm able to have that experience now. The only benefit they give me is I know what I'm looking for. I know when I'm not there. But you cannot be awakened yesterday or tomorrow any more than you can be awakened, or any more than you can be joyful or peaceful yesterday or tomorrow. You can only be awakened now. You can only be joyful now, peaceful now. So use this moment. Can you wake up now? Can you drop that ignorance now? So, with that, a couple of quick moments. The first, of course, was the first moment I stood on the banks of Ganga, which, for those of you who don't know my story, was with no merit at all. I had done no meditation. I had done no study of scriptures. I was not even consciously on a spiritual path. And I always emphasize this because it's really important to understand grace does not discriminate. Grace has no prerequisites. Grace does not say, first